everyone, welcome to the Illuminating Crossroads community. My name is Lisette, and today we're going to be tuning into the energies of the upcoming new moon in Cancer. So the new moon is taking place on January 25th of 2025, of which I'm speaking to, but of course if you come across this video at a different time, feel free to tune in and see if this is for you, then feel free to listen. So I did go ahead and take some notes already for the astrology components for this reading, if you will, and I actually just wanted to show the chart. So you can see here, the new moon is taking place at 4 degrees of Cancer. So we have the moon and the sun meeting together, and then we also have Jupiter in the mix too. And if you're not familiar with astrology, I know sometimes the chart can look a little bit overwhelming, but I'm really here to kind of make it more digestible, so don't worry if you don't know what anything means. I just wanted to show this in case you are kind of familiar with some of the glyphs and stuff, if you will. Yeah, okay. So here we go. So the big thing that we want to keep in mind when we're working with this new moon energy is that Cancer is a cardinal water sign. So what does that mean? It's the beginning or initiating force of something, of this water elemental, if you will, if we think about it as Cancer being cardinal, Scorpio being fixed, and Pisces being mutable. So when we come to this point of Cancer season, really, we just crossed the threshold of summer solstice, and now we're in Cancer season, and the moon and the sun are meeting. After the sun has already had this like peak expression in its own cycle, if you will. So we had the longest day, if you will, once again, in the northern hemisphere. So this is really a time of like, there was this culmination, and then now the sun itself is going to start to dwindle all the way to the winter solstice, and we're being gifted this moment of renewal in the area of how we think more deeply towards our emotional body and how we allow our soul to meet the emotional body and work with our mental body. So if you're not familiar with maybe some of these terminologies, don't worry. Hopefully just feel into what I'm saying. So Cancer is very much a nourishing, like a sign of nurturing, if you will. So it's very deeply nourishing. It can be seen as this motherly essence, or just this deep caring of wanting to tend to another, to support. This Cancer energy is sensitive but protective, and there's also an intuitive component. And in traditional astrology, Cancer is ruled by the moon. So the moon is in its own sign. There's this deep sense of maybe belonging at this time, or remembering what it means to come home to oneself. And I do just want to note that in esoteric astrology, which I like to study, the rulership of the moon is Neptune. So I just kind of want to throw that nugget in, because we're going to talk about Neptune a little bit as we move through the astrology. So the first aspect that I felt called to like speak on is Neptune trine Vesta. So Vesta is at 5 degrees of Scorpio. So Vesta is an asteroid, and it's really beautiful depending on, how you study or connect with Vesta. Normally Vesta is kind of the hearth of the home, or like that fire, the sacred fire or flame that keeps or gives life and warmth to the home. And Vesta can also like symbolize home and family in that regard as well. And it was really beautiful because as I was tuning into the energies of this new moon, it just came through like this essence of allowing oneself to crack open more deeply within the emotional body, and it bringing about a rediscovery of the hearth of your own home. And when that came through, I thought it was really beautiful because I saw this visual of like the hearth of your own home being like you, who you are right now, present you. And imagine seeing all of your past selves and all of your future selves surrounding you in a beautiful circle. And this new moon is inviting that essence. So, inviting this awareness of all of those past parts of you and all of those future potential parts of you, but who you are right now, and allowing the essence of who you are now to crack your heart open and to allow for this coming home to self. So, maybe taking some time to sit with that and seeing like what does that arise, like what arises within you when you kind of take a moment to think about that for yourself. And then the new moon is also sextiling Mars. So Mars is at 4 degrees of Virgo. So when we're thinking about Mars, it does speak towards our actions and our desires, but to name a few things. But I was really being pulled back to when we were having our Mars retrograde and when it was taking place within Cancer and Leo. But really thinking of what are the deeper lessons that you have learned, that we have learned, in regards to allowing like maturity in responses to things. And really thinking of this essence of emotional maturity. And I'll just read like what I wrote here. So there has been deeper integrations of how one responds emotionally, allowing for, hopefully, less reactive emotions and being able to honor what is felt, but choose clearly what is done in action. So I think that that's really beautiful, and taking some time during this new moon to see, like, are there any parts of you that are still, I don't want to say like emotionally wounded, but yeah, operating from this, maybe if you think cold place, like I'm thinking of like sharpness of ice. And if there are parts of you that are being extra protective, let's say, is it supportive for you to keep that ice around you or to keep that barrier or that shield? Or would it be more supportive to actually give love and allow yourself a moment to sit with that part so that that ice can melt, or so that that shield can come down, and not just so maybe others can connect with you, but really so you can connect more deeply with yourself and have more of that essence of that coming home. And then this is also, which I think I may have already said, but just to make sure I said it, and then this is also a time of like one, even though I know it's a new moon, maybe you don't really think of celebrating at a new moon, but I do think that it's important that we celebrate at each phase of the lunar cycle, of like celebrating like how far have you come in your emotional maturity and even your spiritual maturity, and honoring like where is it that you feel you want to expand into, and how you can allow yourself to do that for this next cycle with Cancer. And then the new moon is also squaring Neptune and Saturn in Aries. So squares are a bit more challenging sometimes. They can create a bit more friction, but I also like to see it as like, if we think a square is 90 degrees, but if we just focus on that 9, it kind of shows us like things that need to change, that need to end so that we can begin anew. So the the frictions or challenges towards maybe some dreams or structures that have been trying to be put in place, or just thinking of how maybe you've been trying to take action in a more maybe a more organized way, or maybe it's been a bit scattered and now it's time to get more organized, and like seeing like what hasn't been working and what is now being called to be restructured, to be redreamed or redreamt. So just inviting whatever is arising at this time, as like knowing that there wasn't any failing, or there wasn't like there wasn't an essence of failing. It's just a pivoting time. So how can you bring about that pivot to allow for change, to create friction towards bringing you closer towards embodiment of what it is that you are wanting to create, but allowing for that essence of the worthiness of what it is that you are creating to be embodied now. I hope that made sense. So I do want to say, speaking of that like challenging or friction component of it, we do also have Jupiter is conjunct this new moon, so conjunct with the moon and the sun. And this is really nice because Jupiter is this essence that wants to support us with expanding, but we can expand in many ways, but we want to choose to focus on a way that allows for expansion that is really focused and clear, so that as one is taking forward steps, that you're not getting lost in I don't want to say illusions, but lost in ideas or beliefs that aren't necessarily yours. And I know that this came up, I feel like it was maybe a couple months ago, so it's interesting that it's coming up again, of like being aware of your thought forms. So like, for example, if you imagine that like everything that you think throughout the day creates a shape, and everything that someone else does creates another shape too. And sometimes when we're around people or interacting with people or we're working with different energies, we can maybe take on that shape, but it's not necessarily resonant with our soul. So in saying this, really noticing, like, because since when we do think of Cancer, it is this deeper nourishing essence, that being mindful of like where you are placing your energies and who you are being around, because at this time there is this I think I said this in another video, but there's this churning of water, right? So, and that churning is that initiating, right? So it's just when you're starting something, it's kind of like when something's being birthed. You keep it in this sacredness, and it's not to say like to be in solitude, because Cancer energy can sometimes be in an essence of solitude that's actually to its own detriment, that it's not healthy because it isolates itself sometimes when when it doesn't need to be. But it's about understanding the sacredness of you and that which you're wanting to create. And if you tuned in to the last energetic like check-in solstice reading, there was that blank archetype card, and that's the essence that's being nurtured. But it is something that you are embodying, that you are coming to be. So I really hope all that makes sense. But yes, so I just want to notate that, of just thinking, there's a lot of potential and growth, and it's not going to happen overnight, but it is something that can be very long term sustaining, and we will be having Saturn and Neptune go retrograde in the month of July. So any of the frictions and challenges that you might be experiencing from those planetary bodies, and even with allowing yourself to embody the energies of Aries, when we think about being a pioneer of your own spirit or leadership, or being more bold, or like taking more action, any of those areas, we're going to be refining collectively. So this is a really good time to allow yourself to tune in to what is arising to the surface that's asking for more attention, so that during this refinement period, you can honor it with greater ease. So then as you're moving through, as you're moving through this time that will go through the summer into the spring. I guess kind of for some of the retrogrades, but it won't be so much resistance. It can be with more ease and flow, and also with enjoyment, because the quicker that you listen, especially like intuitively, if you're getting messages or just guidance or the synchronicities that are coming up, then it'll allow for greater ease of connection to yourself, to your surroundings, and for that inspired action or that soul-led action that I know we've kind of talked about before. Okay, so I do hope that was supportive. And yeah, just to wrap up that which I just said, so it's important to not force what isn't working as new things are wanting to come in, but it requires letting go of old truths. And that was interesting that came out while I was writing the notes, because I think that is kind of speaking towards our upcoming Mercury retrograde, but we'll say that for a future video. And then just thinking of the Neptune component, since when we do look at Cancer, its ruler from an esoteric lens being Neptune, so this is a time when more veils are lifting, and one just can't continue to operate in the ways that have not been working or will not bear fruit, because it's not being watered by a soul desire. And that will not resonate with everyone, and it might not make sense, but I feel like I just wanted to note that because it came through. So really noticing like what has been coming to your awareness, what new beliefs do you hold now based off of the things that you've gone through, and what is actually being watered within your actions by your soul, as opposed to maybe worry or fear or doubt or scarcity or whatever it may be. So just kind of noticing that. And then just some key notes to hold within your heart if you so desire. So just being sure at this time to nourish yourself, to move with grace, move with intention and trust, and then hold that which you fear with love. So if there are fears, especially, I'm just making sure we're okay on time. So especially when we think of fear and restrictions, like when it comes to Saturn, bringing awareness to those things that you fear deeply. And even though it can be tough to sit with our fears, and obviously I'm not telling you to do this by yourself, like seek whatever support or guidance or what have you from others if you're not in a space to do that by yourself. But it's important to lovingly bring awareness to that, because when we're thinking of Aries energy, which we are working with within this new moon, because Aries is also a cardinal sign, and there's a square taking place. And when we're in these places of making changes, and if these fears are arising, seeing how much can you hold everything with compassion and love. And sometimes in that acknowledgement and in that giving of love, that fear softens. So kind of exploring that for yourself in whichever way feels best for you, and your beingness. Yes. And then letting go of the old ways that no longer bring you joy or peace, and then take moments to be fully held in the present moment. And I think that one is really important, especially as we have so much going on with our world right now. And there's a lot of grieving, of letting go, of realizing, like, maybe you're being called to step up more in a way that's not necessarily comfortable to you, but to speak up or to support in community or to do whatever it may be. And knowing that the more we invite ourselves into the present moment, the more we're able to have a greater capacity, because we're not being spread into the past or into the future, and we're being held within the present moment now. So it kind of comes back to that, like, to that hearth of the home with Vesta, and just thinking of that sacred fire, that sacred flame, that is your beingness, your essence, which is giving life to your body. And of course, there's so many other components that pour into the creation of you, but just allowing yourself to sit with the present moment more deeply each day. So then there's more rootedness and more groundedness, especially as energies continue to shift and find their settling during this season. So, okay. So I do hope that was supportive for the astrology portion. I am going to do just a quick little reading for if there's any messages that want to come through to support in addition to what was said. So thank you so much if you listen to the astrology portion, and I'll see you at the reading. All right, so I went ahead and pulled 3 cards to just see what additional messages can support during this time of the new moon in Cancer. So the first card that came out is 35, Selene, Tranquility. Then we have 22, Hylia, Strength. And then 32, Mama Kia, Wisdom. So with these cards, the first, like, just thinking of this Tranquility card here with Selene, these colors and the background, they're very soft in essence, and the golden colors are just making me feel and think of this essence of what it means to be almost like at peace with where you're at and where you have been, and understanding that, like, there's this worthiness of where you're wanting to go. So at the time of this new moon, also thinking of what are things that allow you to feel at peace or to feel the essence of tranquility within your life, and what it means to shine the light on those parts of life, especially since there's these like beams coming from her hand, which maybe you can see here. So it also might be nice of just thinking of, like, I don't know why I'm thinking of clothes. So if this is something that someone has been thinking about, of just like kind of changing up the way you dress or how you're allowing yourself to be expressed in your, like, getting ready or what have you. This may be a nice time to like honor, like, what have you been kind of getting pulled to adjust or change. And how can you do that? How can you honor that which is allowing you to feel like good and even confident as well? And then here with strength, with Hylia, I'm just noticing like how she's submerged in this water and the pink and the deep reds. So it just kind of, it makes me think of this essence of the heart space, but also of like bloodline or family as well, and what it means to invite yourself to honor like all that you've allowed yourself to be submerged in, to experience. And there's this full moon behind her as well, so it's kind of showing this essence of, in that depth of emotion, of experience, there's this fullness or this awareness of strength that you've had, and what it means to deeply honor that. And I feel like that's kind of been a message that has been coming up quite a bit, of honoring the strength and the courage. And really, I think it has kind of been trying to emphasize to us as a collective, like, to bring it to our awareness, because sometimes when we're moving through things or going through things, we can forget the strength that we've had to even get to that point. And kind of remembering that whole saying or that essence, and this too shall pass, I think is how it goes. Sorry if I'm not quoting it exactly correctly, but yeah. And then here with wisdom, with Mama Kia, you can see it's so beautiful because there's these two moons here, which are representing this new moon. And then we have, well, I mean, she has the full cycle on the crown of her head. So we have this cycle that's being shown. And there's also tears that are coming down from her eyes. And this is showing that in this cyclical nature of life, sometimes to gather the deep wisdom that is present within our experiences, it does require a deeper understanding of the pain that we have gone through or moved through, so that we can harvest that wisdom. And I feel like there's also this message of like, maybe, I don't want to say maybe, but like gratitude from, especially if you have any like feminine ancestors or past loved ones, so a mother or a grandmother. This is showing like, I'm feeling this message of like, thank you for your strength, thank you for like choosing what you're choosing, like what you've chosen to add to our family line or lineage. So, and that might not be for everyone, but yeah. So, and in these colors, so I'm just seeing that it could be supportive at this time. I feel like the purple, orange, and pink is really standing out to me. So if those are colors maybe that you were already kind of resonating with, maybe those are some colors you'd like to work with during this new moon in Cancer. And then of course silver as well. Okay, so then let's see here. We're just gonna pull a few a few animal spirit cards. And before I move on though, I'm looking at the little lily pads, and it's interesting. I was like thinking of, like, you know, when frogs jump to the next lily pad. So this could be two different messages. So kind of tune into where you're at. One message is like saying, like, because of the strength that you've cultivated and that you have, like, now's the time to jump. Now's the time to take the leap of faith. Now's the time to go, right? But not go from an essence of like, how do I want to say, like, panic, like, oh my gosh, like, no, like, I have to go now or I'll never be able to go. Like, no, it's a go because you feel the call to go and you jump. And then the other potential is that you're being actually called to wait to jump, because there's this needing to gather your energy and honoring the space to renew yourself, to gather your energy, so then you can take the leap or the jump with ease, and not end up, I don't want to say end up struggling, but I'm just seeing this image of like the frog like drowning in the water. But it's interesting because I'm like, frogs can swim in the water, so that's very interesting. So it could be that, like, just so you don't get stuck in that illusion as if you don't make it to the next lily pad, or you don't make it to the next, like, you don't make it to somewhere that's solid. But then it's like, okay, well, if, how do I want to say, even if you don't, like, if you wait, that's beautiful, right? Gather your energy, harness, like, until you feel that strength, and then go. But if you take a rushed leap and it's not that divine timing, I think the timing component is really important here. I'm almost thinking of, what is it, Frogger? I don't know if you know that game, but I think it's Frogger. I want to say it's Frogger. I'm pretty sure. But anyways, you, like, essentially you gotta, like, get him across the street, but there's like cars, and then you do it a bunch of times to get each frog to the lily pad. But I'm just seeing that, like, it could be that if you jump too soon, or you don't listen to that inner, like, that gut feeling, or that intuitive muscle of however your intuition speaks to you, that you could end up jumping, and then it may feel like you're drowning, but then it's almost like, well, but remember that you can swim, and that's that strength component. Like, remember that you have the strength to be able to, like, arise back up to the surface and to not drown. But it might just take more focus, because maybe you didn't allow for that rest so that you could be in your fullest essence as you took that leap. I really hope that made sense. Okay, so let's see, any animal spirits that would like to share a message for this new moon in Cancer. Okay, so we have antelope spirit, life is speeding up. And we have 9 bears, a brown bear spirit, take time out. Ooh. And then we also have a 33 horse spirit, freedom is yours. Okay, and then I'm going to take this card because I looked at it. And then we also have 43 owl spirit, you see clearly now. Okay, so I actually want to go in the order that these came out, or that I placed them. So I think it's really interesting that I placed them kind of backwards, right? So with antelope spirit, life is speeding up. Here, this is showing to me that when there is this moment to sit with yourself, to honor the wisdom, and maybe even honor some pain that might still being experienced, and then so you can allow for that cracking open more deeply within your heart, life will begin to go quickly. Like it'll speed up the things that you're wanting to move towards. And it's because it's like the how do I want to say it, it feels like all these strings, like if we see like I'm seeing like a little what is it, a little puppeteer, if all the strings were just cut, and it's like now there's nothing in the background holding you back, be it like within your subconscious or of just like old stories, but you're just allowing yourself to honor what was, but to find freedom from that. And if that is not for you, I feel like this is kind of going back to that frog lily pad split. Then this could be the time to take the time out to rest, to hibernate, to close, because you have to close something out with the 9 here. And knowing that it's okay to pause. Like if it's not time yet, it's not time yet. Don't force it. And like you'll know internally, right? So it's about being really honest with yourself so that you know when is the time to jump. But when you feel the call to jump, know that you gotta trust and take the jump. And I feel like since the owl spirit card at the bottom that I had seen, the you see clearly now, and owls deal with wisdom, then that will put you, after you take that time out, that will put you into the space of life is speeding up. So if you're in that space of still needing to kind of go inward, just honoring that and what that means for yourself, but making sure while you're taking that time out, you're being very honest and like truthful with what's arising, what you're feeling, and what you're needing as well. And then with the 33, the horse spirit, freedom is yours. This is really beautiful. Because this is showing like, and I feel like this is feeding into both of those pathways of potentials of like, there is this essence of like, almost, it's funny when I was talking about with Celine with Tranquility of like, if you were wanting to change up your style or to do something different, like what is the essence of freedom as it flows through you that you want to embody? How does it nourish you? What does it feel like to honor your senses more and to receive nourishment in different ways, but to be free, to like run, to roam, and like roam around, to go to new places, so to experience, to be curious, all of those things. All right, and then I'm just gonna pull a couple of crystal cards. I'm not gonna really interpret these. I'm just gonna set the intention to see if there's any crystals that could be supportive to work with at this time during the Cancer new moon. And then of course, if you do like meditating, you can call on any of these animal spirits to support you within your meditation. And we do have fairy stone, fertility. We have rhodochrosite, acceptance, and then we'll pull one more. And then we have pink tourmaline, forgiveness. All right. So that is going to close out this reading for the Cancer new moon. I do hope that all of these messages were supportive. Feel free to let me know if anything pinged or what you're moving through at the time of this new moon in Cancer. And I do want to extend an invitation if you happen to watch this before the actual time of the new moon. I'm hosting a new moon in Cancer circle. It's online. It's an online gathering. It will be 5:30 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. So if you'd like to join, you're more than welcome to come on in to our gathering. The energy exchange is $33. and I'm looking forward to leading a meditation. There'll be sound, some community connection, and just allowing for witnessing to share intentions and to heal in a space together, to ground more deeply, to opening up to our souls, wisdom, our own intuition, because all of this is to support you with reconnecting to your gifts, your essence, and to empower you. So that is always the goal. And then, of course, as always, if you're seeking some deeper one-on-one support along your journey, I do offer private one-on-one sessions, so energetic harmonics healing sessions, which include Reiki and sound and crystal healing. It's kind of a nice little mixed modality of tools that I've gathered. And then I do also offer like seasonal astrology readings, and those are kind of just geared towards the different transits or lunar cycles. So all of that information can be found down below in the description box. And I am wishing you a very nourishing new moon in Cancer. Be sure to take care of yourself, listen to what you're needing, what you're desiring, what you're wanting, and remember that there's so much potential even in times when it seems so limited. So allow yourself to just be honest with what you want and to take action from a space that is more heart-led. So allowing the mind to move into the heart to find coherence so that you can move and know when it's time to take that leap, that faith of jumping towards the next thing that's awaiting you, that wants to hold you. All right, so with all that being said, we'll just close out this reading with divine love, light, and truth. And until next time, take care. Bye.